If we were to revisit some of the most popular mainstream Bollywood films that attempt to have conversations around caste, a fairly similar trend emerges. Lagaan, Article 15 and Swades have been showered with critical praise for their adeptness in tackling social issues and have also been blessed with a fair amount of commercial success as well. And despite being worthy of this praise, on closer inspection, these films share a very similar portrayal of casteism in the country that is awkward for two reasons: a savior trope and a misleading focus. In each of these films, the lead characters of Ayan, Bhuvan and Mohan are the faces through which the stories are told. The audience's entire perception of the conversations that the films create is centered around their perceivably relatable perspective. In each of these films, it is through the efforts of these upper caste characters that the shackles of casteism are broken for the others in the film. In Lagaan, Bhuvan convinces his teammates that kachra is essential to their success. In Article 15, Ayan is the well-intentioned urban Brahmin IPS officer who successfully takes down the evil and regressive Brahmadat Singh. And in Swadesh, Mohan is the successful and progressive NRI who helps the backward village of Charanpur and is shocked to see the casteism still prevails. Each film then employs a Brahminical savior character, which would be the Bollywood equivalent to the white savior seen in well-received Hollywood films like The Blind Side, The Help, and 12 Years a Slave, as well as downright atrocious ones like Basmati Blues. When this trope is used, it pedestalizes the savior, while denying those being saved much semblance of agency for themselves. Now, in the case of Lagaan and Swadesh, this may be true, but that perhaps also reflects on the fact that both these films are not centrally focused on themes of caste. Article 15, on the other hand, drew ire from conservative Hindu outfits who saw the movie as being anti-Brahmin, as well as liberal outfits who critique Khurana's character for being a typical Brahmin savior. And considering the movie does use strong Dalit voices through characters like Nishad and Gaura, it is perhaps quite unfair to diminish all the right the film does for its undoubtedly safe choice in Khurana's character's identity. But the larger implication that each of these films inevitably make is wherein the broader problem lies. In both Swadesh and Article 15, Ayan and Mohan are seen as entirely caste-blind and progressive individuals, as well as being portrayed as, the relatable everyman. Considering they are meant to be a representation for the viewer, the film sort of inevitably sends a message that the average urban Indian has no concept or experience with casteism, and that it exists now as a solely rural issue. A viewer leaving these films then gets this vague idea that, man, this casteism situation in rural India is very bad, failing to understand that perhaps in their own apartment complex, casteism is probably being practiced at some level or the other. And this isn't some arbitrary claim either, the data wholeheartedly supports it. The 2016 National Crime Record Bureau report shows cities like Bengaluru and Hyderabad, so-called progressive Silicon Valleys of India, as being subject to 207 and 139 incidents of crimes committed against scheduled castes/scheduled tribes. And this is completely discounting the fact that, in all likelihood, a large portion of crime and atrocities perpetrated against these communities goes entirely unreported. A paper published by the Dyson School of Applied Economics and Management at Cornell contends that within these metropolitan cities, namely Mumbai, Delhi, Bangalore, Chennai and Kolkata, segregation along the lines of caste still exists. In their paper, they highlight how some neighborhoods and cities are remiss of any SC/ST population while others have an abundance. Evidently, it's clearly not a problem confined to rural India. And Bollywood films need to reconcile with this reality in future discussions of caste. Metropolitan cities are far free from caste prejudice, and a consistent mainstream depiction that fails to acknowledge otherwise, even while well-intentioned and well put together, is not painting a complete picture. Now, none of this is to discount the work or good that these movies have done. Undoubtedly, films like these should hopefully leave their audiences questioning situations, but without directly highlighting to metropolitan audiences that casteism could be a problem on their doorstep, there's a very easy disconnect for the audience to opt for. Films away from the mainstream like Masan, Fandry, Sairat and Court have also done fantastic jobs in illustrating how casteism functions. And a film like Newton has also tried to normalize the Dalit character as the lead, without focusing on a caste-specific social message. However, until we have movies that depict the complicity of urban India in retaining casteism, there will always be some dishonesty to our discussion of caste in cinema.